Slow down, you move too fast. You gotta make the morning last now. Just kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun and feeling groovy. Da 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 da, feeling groovy. Hello lamppost, what you knowin'? I've come to watch your flowers growin'. Ain't you got no rhymes for me? Do-do-do-do, and feeling groovy. That's about the extent of my singing career right there.
So Simon
First time I think I've ever done it, like on a microphone.
Singing on a mic. Simon and Garfunkle's. It's actually called the 59th Street Bridge Song. We called it the Slowdown Song, and there's a reason for that. We talked about our oldest son and his love of signs. If you go to their third podcast, CCR Parenting, we tell the story about him in an introduction to signs when he was a newborn and his first words. And
well, we used to, as we walked, when people would come through the neighborhood too fast, we'd put our hands up and push them down and go, slow down, you know.
And so the speed limit signs got labeled
slowdown signs.
Slowdown signs. And I think, because of that, and as we name different, most of the road signs had their actual name. The speed limit became a slowdown sign.
Well, not all of them, because we had the the wee-wee sign and the choo-choo sign, which was the railroad crossing.
Right.
Stoppy sign. I'm trying to think of all the different ones.
So the slowdown sign, because of that, I remember pulling this song up, like realizing, oh yeah, there's a song that starts out that way, and sharing it with him. And I remember he got a kick out of it. No wonder the kid loves like 60s and 70s music, because we played this kind of stuff for him.
Well, he's now 24. Hello, this is Don and Gina with Focused Healthy Family. And today we're talking about slowing down.
This is part of our series we're doing on self-care.
Well, yeah, I just thought about Slow Down, the Taxi. Remember the Taxi show?
Yes, the show
with
Taxi.
Reverend Jim, as he was called, going in to get his driver's license and taking the test, and the whole crew of Taxi went with him, and they stood off kind of to the side where they could still see each other while he was taking his test, and he was calling out for answers to different questions, and one of them was, he said, what does a yellow light mean?
Yes.
That's it. There you go.
What does a yellow light mean?
And they would go, slow down. So he'd go, what does a yellow, and they go, slow down. He was like barely getting it out. It was so slow. Anyway, I just thought of that as that. So
this is podcast
number 10 for us.
Again, looking at self-care and all about how we can slow down. But before we get into more information about that, here's a word from our sponsor. Today's podcast is sponsored by Q Sciences. Don and I discovered that the supplements we were taking and giving to our children were not being absorbed properly. I was very excited when I found Q Sciences. I was impressed with the quality of the products and that they provide maximum absorption. They have a variety of products, including a Q Max product, which is a combination of 3 products, including vitamins, minerals, and a probiotic. They also have hemp oil, a vitamin B12 spray, a sleep spray, and kids products. I've really seen a difference in how these products are improving how I feel, improving my mental health, and I'm happy with the quality of these products and how they're helping our whole family. If you'd like to learn more,
simply go to qsciences.focusedhealthyfamily.com. That's the letter Q, sciences.focusedhealthyfamily.com. Or you can find a link on the front page of the focusedhealthyfamily.com website.
And stop throwing your money away on supplements that don't work and use a quality product like Q Sciences.
All right, well, so we're talking about slowing down as part of our series on self-care.
And what I want to do first is do a mindfulness exercise. So, what is mindfulness?
I think it's tuning into yourself. It's being conscious of who you are and what's going on for you, both in your whole being, really. This is kind of a rough...
It's a big
picture of it.
Big picture answer. So our youngest was doing therapy with her therapist, and she was teaching her mindfulness exercise. And we talked about just taking 2 minutes and being outside maybe, and just listening to what you hear, noticing what you smell, taking in what you see, kind of looking through your senses. Another way to do a mindfulness exercise is with eating a piece of chocolate.
Ah.
And so I didn't tell Don when I was doing this. I went upstairs to get something, and he didn't know what I got. So we are going to do this. So we have this piece of, it's from Aldi's. It's
a darker chocolate.
It's the salt, what do you call it?
Sea salt.
Dark sea salt chocolate. So here's a little piece. I usually do this with a chocolate.
I feel like I'm in church with
a chocolate chip, and I didn't have any chocolate chips. So first, you look at it. What do you see?
A little brown square.
Yeah. How does it feel?
It's kind of hard. A little bit, well, it's smooth, but it's also kind of not sticky, but just, I don't know.
And if the one side's got texture, it's got ridges on it. You kind of run your finger across the ridges.
Oh, yeah.
And because I broke it off, there's a sharp corner, and the sides are smooth where it was formed. And then we're going to smell it.
It smells like, I don't even want to say it. It smells like cocoa versus just like, I don't know what, if chocolate smells
Makes you think
different.
of cocoa. It smells like happiness, pure joy. My stomach is even starting to growl.
I think you're talking to two chocoholics here in a little bit.
One chocoholic and one person who likes chocolate.
Which is which?
All right, so we've smelled it, we've looked it, we've touched it, right? So the next part is we're going to taste it, and we're not going to just gobble it. We're going to take a bite.
Like we usually do.
And we're going to notice the sensation.
It becomes very creamy.
I taste the salt. It's a dark sea salt chocolate, and
I say I don't. I
pick up on the salt hint. Well, earlier I had some of the dark chocolate.
Oh yeah.
And it was a heavier cocoa-y, and it didn't have that salt. I can tell the difference because I ate that earlier. And so we're feeling it in our mouth. We're noticing how it feels, the texture, right? So we're spending how much time? I don't know how much time we spent on this right now.
Probably 3 or 4 minutes at least.
And so we can do this, right? We can do it quietly, but like with our kids, this is a fun thing we can do with them. And it's a mindfulness skill.
And it slows us down too in doing it.
It's yummy. When we bit into it and I said, feel the sensation, I thought of the peppermint patty commercial. And
Should we jump up on something?
Well, that's sort of an exercise in mindfulness, right? Get the sensation, you eat the peppermint patty, and it takes you to, you're skiing on a slope.
Well, it gets you to imagine.
Yeah.
And I think that's, envisioning is a lot of, I even use it when I do the EFT as envisioning things, both good and bad. I mean, but envisioning something good takes you. I mean, I talk about in mindfulness is learning, is awareness is the first step going towards mindfulness. Being aware of yourself, being aware of what's your environment, being aware of, well, like I said, a lot of it's being aware inside yourself.
And I think of being in the present moment, being here now, not what you got to do later on today, not what went wrong yesterday or what you got to fix or solve. but being right here, right now, right? So we're sitting in a chair right now. If I tune into myself, I feel the chair on my bottom. I can feel the pressure there. I feel my feet touching the metal bar. We're on these like bar stools where we're sitting. And just noticing where I'm at, what I'm feeling. So being present in the moment of now is part of mindfulness, and that's part of self-care. Because when we get busy and we're running around, getting things done, I call it the gottas. Gotta do this, gotta do that.
Yeah. I have a bad case of that.
Yeah, we learn to not should on ourselves, and so we avoid the word should. And I've noticed that Don now has a case of the gottas. So instead of saying I should be doing this, I should be doing this, I hear you say I gotta. And so we're talking about slowing down, being mindful, being in the present moment. We need to practice these skills to take care of ourselves. And
it kind of goes with that old, I don't know, kind of cliche-ish idea of the airplane and putting the mask on yourself. As a parent, it's important, and that's where I think we tend to focus on. We really have to take care of ourselves as parents, take care of ourselves even first before our kids.
And it's 2022 as we're recording this. And the pandemic, wherever it's at when you're listening to this, people were forced to be home and didn't have all their daily activities. And so it forced people to slow down. And so a lot of people were grateful for the fact that they now had more time to spend with their family. They didn't have as much gottas and shoulds to do. And it gave them this opportunity to reconnect, to think about what was important, to spend more time, quality time together, eating dinner together as a family, not being able to go out to restaurants and not be able to participate in your regular activities, not even be able to go to school, having to work from home, being present with each other. And it's always important to take time to slow down.
Yeah, doing even simple things like having a dinner together.
Even if it's once a week.
Yeah.
Once a week, we're going to have family dinner, and we're going to be here together. And maybe it means it doesn't always look like that Olive Garden commercial.
Yeah.
Well, you're here, you're family. I laugh at it because I'm from an Italian family and background. I'm like, that's not an Italian family. Someone needs to be screaming over somebody else. And
eating for quite a long time.
Having an argument and all kinds of, all that commotion and excitement. Sitting down to eat dinner together doesn't mean it's going to look happy and peaceful and perfect. It's you're there with your family. You're there through difficult times. It's building that routine.
Well, and continue with the idea of some simple things. Having a movie night. Now that, that doesn't give you the communication between each other, but unless you afterwards talk about
the movie.
The different things about the movie.
My brother, whose kids are now off in California in college, would have movie night, and they rotated. He's divorced. It was him and his two kids. I remember him telling us he rotated each week. Somebody had to get to pick the movie. So he got to pick one week, and his daughter, then his son, and they rotated like that. And his kids are 2 years apart. It was a little easier picking movies for them all to watch that are appropriate for everybody. I always liked that idea.
Well, and you talk about outside, you wash the car together or get the sprinkler out during the summertime. And even if as adults, having some fun doing stuff like that could
Turning
be...
your phone off.
Yes.
I'm getting a notification about it.
That's a whole nother talk, really, about slowing down by giving yourself the time to get away from the phone, get away from the computer, things like that. But it's part of slowing down. I think I kind of had to learn the hard way with having a heart attack. That I always called it my 2x4 to the head, that I didn't listen to changes I need to make for myself, changes in my career, like I said, slowing down, getting rid of the gottas, which I probably had more gathas then and more stress around the gathas.
They were shoulds, yeah.
Should, yes. So I think that this is something that we take for granted as parents, just as people alone. We kind of take it for granted and don't think about really slowing down.
What do we take for granted?
The idea that we need to slow down, that we need to take time for ourselves. We live in a very fast-paced world, and so we don't really, maybe taking for granted isn't the right way to say that, but we put it aside. Other things are more important.
We say it's something we should do. Oh, yeah. We should. We should do
and
this.
I will do that.
We really need to do that.
We've always said this, you can't wait till all the lights are green to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing here because, I could have, with the heart attack, I might not have been around to do anything more. So
it was a very close call.
It was something that I have to think about is I do want to take time for myself, take time for my family, and slow down.
Yeah, listening to your body, knowing that, the only signs you had were you were getting more and more tired, but that was kind of happening. You had your own business, you were 52, you had a family,
I was going to say
3 kids, the kids with anxiety. Of course you were tired.
Well, and it's stress. I think mine was very heavily surmounted with stress because it wasn't so much about my eating or I wasn't overweight, things like that. And the unfortunate part is stress is so, I always call it kind of the elephant in the room. It's can be kind of silent. And
everybody says it, even the medical doctors, that stress is a contributing factor to heart disease. And yet I loved, you went through the whole rehab program afterwards and going to cardiac rehab, and they had talks on diet, and they had a whole talk one time on fish oil and how to find, good fish oil, and they went through all these different components of diet and exercise. And with stress, it's like, this is a huge, like you say, an elephant in the room, and for you, that was a huge contributing factor. And so what, just don't be stressed? Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way, right?
It takes a conscious effort. It takes mindfulness, to start really being aware of what's going on in your body, and recognizing what stress is and what it feels like to you.
And you almost need to stop and step back and go, okay, what am I doing in my life? How is my life proceeding? Am I enjoying the moments in my life, or am I just running through and getting done and going from here to there? I worked in adult physical rehab at an acute rehab hospital, my first job out 30 years ago. And typically I saw people with stroke recovery, brain injury, often from car accidents. There were orthopedic section with people with broken bones and joint replacements, injuries from work accidents. And one time I had a young man, probably in his 50s, that had a heart attack. I remember kind of vaguely, I can kind of picture him talking about how, I don't know if he worked in the business world, but he realized that he had to think about how he was doing things and the way he was living his life and the impact that it was having on him. Let's not wait till we have a heart attack.
No, please don't.
These are skills we need to incorporate in our everyday life. As a therapist working in the busy therapy world, whether it was a hospital or a nursing home, wherever I worked, I would often take a mental health day. It usually happened when I was just so overloaded, so much going on that physically I got sick. And then I got to the point where I just felt that mental overload. And so I would take that day off, because if I didn't stop and give myself time for rest, I would wind up with physical illness. And now I try to take a more proactive approach and realize I need a down day. I need to make sure that that's kind of included. And I don't even get it every week. Yet it needs to be part of our routine. We need to give ourselves permission to realize we're feeling overwhelmed, we've got so much going on, and sometimes we go, you know what? I love my family or my friends, and this party's supposed to happen, but I can't do it today.
No.
I'm going to stay home and get in my pajamas and watch a movie and eat chocolate and maybe not even eat it mindfully.
Well, and that goes, because when you say that, I part of me still has a little cringe to it because I sit around and do nothing and watch a movie. I was not raised like that, and I think that plays into what I went through. And as I was sitting there thinking about it with my heart attack, I have become more conscious of what I'm doing because, then in 2019, I caught my heart again, where I had open heart surgery, but I caught it before it was going to go to another possible heart attack. And so it was...
Yeah, you paid attention that you
my
were...
My focus and my attention, I paid attention to things...
What you were feeling in your body.
I was tuned into what was going on for me.
And yet at the same time, it wasn't until recently that I realized I have all these hobbies. And I'm like, what are Don's hobbies? I know you like to ride a bike and you like to read. And I thought about, I take time and I'll go out by myself. And I'm like, do you ever really do that?
No, I don't.
And I know you've been paying a lot more attention to it recently and just realizing... Even though I suffer with depression and anxiety and I have my own issues that are equivalent in some ways to your heart disease, having hobbies, having things we enjoy, disengaging from the busyness of life is so important.
Yeah.
And, it didn't fully occur to me till recently when I kind of looked at things. Maybe it was like wanting to get you a gift and wanting it to be something you enjoyed. Like, it's easy to buy gifts for me because I love to crochet and there's just so many things I do for fun. And yet, what are your hobbies? How do you stop and unwind?
That's something I've been thinking about a lot myself.
So what do you do, Don?
Well, I don't. That's the thing, like say the bike riding was one, but that kind of stopped.
What have you done recently, though, to just...
I don't know. I have taken time. Well, like this past Saturday, I wasn't feeling real well, and I sat back and watched a show, and I didn't do a lot. I didn't get a lot.
Did you feel guilty while you did it?
Well, I had a little bit of trouble with that. Yeah, just trying to sit back and not do anything was like I said, it goes back to the way I was raised, and
So if you're sitting back and watching a movie and feeling guilty the whole time you're doing it, that's not...
It doesn't
take away your stress.
I was able to let go some. I think I was able to relax and let go some of it. There was part of it. It's getting better, let's put it that way.
And trying to do that not because you don't feel good. That's important too, but also doing that proactively. I know I've seen you watch YouTube videos, you watch funny shows that you enjoy.
Well, I've been doing the meditations in the morning.
Right.
And really taking time to exercise, meditate, listen to some, Esther Hicks and things like that.
Right. Which are more practices, being mindful, meditation, yet it's not just pure fun.
Yeah.
It's not...
Yeah, no,
it's something you
that.
Got to do, right?
Well, no, I don't know, but I'd say I got to do it. Because I have... yesterday I gave myself a break. I actually didn't exercise, and I let it go.
And did you feel good?
I felt fine. It really didn't bother me.
Okay.
So
give yourself permission
I'm trying
to not exercise. I've seen you have what word games? You play some games on your phone?
Oh, I like Scrabble and this new Wordus where you have it. I want to keep my mind, active and fresh. So I like doing Scrabble. Scrabble's always been one I've enjoyed.
So those are things you enjoy.
Yeah, I guess you could kind of call that a hobby, I guess.
You enjoy reading biographies?
Yeah,
and
I enjoy mysteries and stuff like that. So I read a lot. Try to read at night because I think that's time to relax and ease my way into sleeping. And that's that's an important thought too, is being able to stop. Even at night too, being able to...
We need to be able to wind down. Our brains are busy and going and going and going, to fall asleep, we need a slowing down. So the natural rhythm of our body has to do with the earth and the sun, and as the sun comes down, our brains slow down because the light changes. So because of electricity and light bulbs, that made a huge shift on us being able to go to bed when the sun set. You think back to farmers before electricity, they got up at sunrise, they worked, they went to bed after sunset. And so it varied depending on the time of year, probably slept longer in the winter than in the summertime. Kind of our natural flow of our body and the rhythm of life, yet with artificial light,
it kind of throws that off.
It throws it off, and that's something we need to
tricks our mind into thinking it's still daylight or sunrise or whatever.
And when we're on electronic devices, it's activating the brain to be alert. I know years ago our daughter wanted to be on a device because when you have obsessive compulsive disorder, your brain ruminates on obsessive thoughts, and at nighttime when you climb in bed, it's like an opportunity for those thoughts to ramp up, or it can be. And for both of our children that suffer with OCD, that's an issue for them. And so there was an element of needing to distract that in their mind. And what we purchased was the Kindle Paperwhite at the time. That was the big thing because
it acts like a book. And
it's backlit. The lighting is different, so it's not triggering your brain the way a computer or other electronic device is. That the way it's lit, and she could read, and there were even some simple games on the device that she could do. And so we got that for her, knowing she had trouble falling asleep to begin with. With her anxiety flaring up at night, that made it hard for her. And then if she was on a regular electronic device, that stimulation of that light was not helping her brain to slow down. And so that's something we purchased so she could still have
a little cat jump there.
Cat just landed on my lap with her claws digging into my skin. So she could have, she could play a little game on the device. There were some simple games on there. She could read a book. Because sometimes we have so much going on in our mind. It can be helpful to do a puzzle. I often play. I was doing Sudoku for a while. Then I've been doing some Word-us. And kind of that repetitive, when I get lost thinking about the game, it kind of helps quiet my mind.
Well, the puzzle, I like that. Talk about slow down. That'll slow you down right just by itself because you're taking time to match the pieces and all that, which is good and it's fun to do and active for the brain.
So we're talking about self-care, taking care of ourselves, having ways to do that, whether we utilize skills like EFT and tapping, meditation, mindfulness, exercise. There's lots of different things involved in self-care.
Well, and even might want to consider diet in there, because if you have things like coffee, caffeines and stuff, which will excite you to get you more where you can't slow down as well. So
we'll have to talk more about
these different ideas. Even like you say, diet and things like that may play into it.
Self-care is a huge part of parenting. We need to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of other people. And the best way we teach our kids is through our behavior. And some people call it modeling. When our children see us taking care of ourselves, they learn that they also need to take care of themselves. We can't run around frazzled, just drinking coffee and skipping meals and expect our children to grow up with healthy habits.
So that's our podcast for today. We hope you enjoyed it. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure to leave us a comment so we know some other topics that you'd be interested in hearing about.
And if you've liked what you've heard today, you can learn more about our parent coaching program or join us for our next workshop at focusedhealthyfamily.com. You can follow us on Facebook at Focused Healthy Family. Our website, you can find this podcast, our blogs, And I have an Instagram page, Gina at Focused Healthy Family.
So remember, how you speak to your children shapes their future.